Hello and welcome. Welcome everyone to the Heal Yourself, Heal the Earth Global Online Conference. I am Monique Challis and I am the creator and producer of this event, and I'll be your host throughout. And I really want to honor you and thank you for signing up and showing up. On this magical day of 11/11, the portal opened and you stepped in, and we're here surrounded by divine light. And I really want to honor you for being here. So thank you, because I know there are so many things vying for our attention these days, so many distractions. But the fact that you're here now is really wonderful, because you're really taking that time to honor yourself and taking the time to nourish yourself and listen to these amazing speakers. And I'm so excited to share the interviews with you. I had the impulse to create this event maybe about 10 months ago. I've always been the kind of person who liked to attend these events, so I was already a fan. And I started to play around with the idea and do a little bit of work. Then I would say about 3 months ago, the momentum had built so much that it was almost as if I just had to step back and watch the event create itself. It was really amazing. And I began to realize that, the event is its own being. It's an entity, right? And you being here, you are co-creating the event. You are bringing your energy, and as you integrate the material and take that forward, you're co-creating, advancing the consciousness of yourself, of the event, of the world. And as Hank Wesselman would say, that's not a small thing. That's a really big thing and a really exciting thing. So thank you so much for being here. And we have people from all over the world gathering with us today. It's really incredible. I don't know if it's like 20 countries at least. So it's amazing. And I'm so happy to share this with you. And I really want to invite you all to listen with an open heart and an open mind, and really that beginner's mind. Have that beginner's mind, because some of the speakers may be very familiar to you, some may be new, some of the topics you may have heard before, but with that beginner's mind, you can really allow the information that's being shared to kind of land on you in a different way. It'll resonate deeper in a different way because you're different from the last time you heard it. So I'd love to invite you to just listen with that open heart and that open mind. And really, above all else, enjoy. It's been so much fun creating the event, so I really, really hope you enjoy it. And just to give you a little bit of information about me and my journey, it's been a long and winding journey, as these journeys are. My healing path, I've had ups and downs. I really came into this life as a very, very, very highly sensitive person, with a highly sensitized nervous system, very aware of my environment, everything that was going on, all the patterns, the power struggles, the mind games. I could always, very aware of everyone's feelings. I've always been able to feel animals, always been able to hear them and understand them. Even insects, I couldn't bear for anyone to harm an insect when I was a child. I would go and catch them in my hands and take them outside. Just very sensitive. And of course, I didn't have the conscious awareness or understanding of really how that was playing out, what that meant. I just knew I was different, right? And as a child, when you're different, you feel isolated and, as if there's something wrong with you. I could see the masks that people were presenting, but I could see behind there. I could feel it. And I'd be confused. Like, you're presenting this, but there's this, and they don't match, and I don't understand, right? People don't like that. They don't like to be called out on the mask they're presenting, right? So, I was confused, but it upset people, and people didn't want to be around me. So I felt very isolated, didn't really understand, but all the while my system was processing energy for other people, right? And maybe some of you are highly sensitive or empaths, so you understand what I'm talking about. But, and if this does resonate, I would really highly recommend that you listen to Christina Bevere's talk, which is on Thursday, because she has a very interesting understanding and sense of how the healer's life body is different structurally and functionally from everyone else's life body. So that's very, very interesting, and it's something that resonates with me. So I'd highly recommend you listening to that talk. Yeah, so I've had times in my life when, my system was overloaded and shut down. I've had health issues because I didn't really understand. No one explained what it's like being a highly sensitive person, what was going on. I had to learn that many, many years later. And I think really my healing path really accelerated probably almost 20 years ago. I was working at the BBC in London, and a colleague of mine went on holiday and hurt his back. And he came back and said he just couldn't wait to go to his homeopath. And I didn't know what a homeopath was. I didn't know what that was. So he explained. And then I went to the library. And amazingly, my library had The Organon of Medicine by Samuel Hahnemann, which is like the text of homeopathy. And I read that, and I thought, well, this is really interesting. But if it works, why haven't I heard of it? Why isn't everyone using it? So I ended up testing it on myself, thinking it wouldn't work. So it's not really placebo because I had zero faith. And it did work. So I went on to the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London, and I studied naturopathy, homeopathy. I specialized in homeopathy. I ended up in India doing clinical practice. We learned all about iridology, flower essences, ear acupuncture. We did nutrition, but I felt I really wanted a deeper understanding of nutrition. So I went on to do a degree in nutritional therapy. It was really based on functional medicine, the functional medicine model, if you're familiar with Dr. Jeffrey Bland. Then in one of my classes, it was actually a class I didn't even need to attend because it was on homeopathy and I was already a homeopath. So I was excused from that class, but I went just because I was interested. And we had a guest lecturer come in, and she did all these energy exercises with us. And it was all very new to me. I didn't know what was going on, but I felt something. And I went up to her afterwards and I said, wait, whoa, I really felt something. And she said, well, I'm doing this module next semester, so why don't you come and join us? And I did, even though I had a full class schedule. I added her class. It was called Healing Development, and that's when I started working with energy, opening my intuition. And that was probably 2004, maybe 2005. I went on to her school elsewhere and followed up with more healing work. Then after that, the floodgates were open. I couldn't get enough. I've done energy healing for animals. I'm a qualified coach. I've studied transpersonal hypnotherapy. I've done Orin and DeBen's Awakening Your Light Body course a couple of times. Studied Reiki, shamanism with Hank and Sandra Ingerman. Just finished a course with Sandra. So yeah, I've done all these courses, and I've always been curious and just can't get enough knowledge around these topics. And about 5 years ago, I'd say, I really accelerated my own personal development and started working on my own inner world with a teacher who understands that from the perspective of an intuitive, sensitive person. And that's really accelerated me on my path. So that's a little bit about my journey. I have learned quite a lot on the way. And now I would love to share with you my 3 powerful ways to deepen into your path of personal and planetary healing. And the first one is self-care. Now, I know you've heard this before, but bear with me, right? It is the foundation of everything, right? Because when you love and honor yourself, you are loving and honoring everyone and everything. And nature loved you into existence, right? And she wants you to love and care for yourself. You are made of her. And it's an act of love and honor to her to love and care for yourself. Now, how many of us were taught to love and care for ourselves above all else? I don't know about you, but I wasn't, especially as women, right? We're taught to, or what's modeled in our culture is really to sacrifice yourself, to please others and help others, and then, deny your own needs, really. And then if you fall over, you're almost idolized. Oh, she's so wonderful, self-sacrificing. But, think about what you're bringing to your love and honor of others. You're not bringing your whole self. You're not bringing the best of yourself if you haven't taken care of yourself. It's that old cliche of putting your oxygen mask on first before you assist others. Because otherwise you just become someone who needs assistance very quickly, right? And, this is a lesson I've had to learn over and over. It's a balancing act, right? And it's not just about, optimizing your nutrition and getting enough sleep, moving your body, staying hydrated. All of those things definitely, are very important. It's also about your relationships. Are they healthy relationships? Are you caught in codependence? Are you going around in drama all the time? There's the drama triangle. I don't know if you've heard of this. Cartman's drama triangle, right? So there's 3 positions of the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. You don't even need 3 people to have this. And people switch around in the roles all the time. So for example, have you ever said to someone, or has someone said to you something like, I'm just trying to help you? Well, how does that feel? Does that feel empowering? No, right? You're being forced into the victim position. And being a victim never feels powerful. And what the other person is doing, they're actually persecuting from the rescuer's position. And they're forcing you down. And if you, that doesn't feel good, and you end up saying, no, leave me alone, I don't want your help. Guess what? They become the victim and you're the persecutor. And they're down here saying, oh, I'm just trying to help them, and they bit my head off. Right? And people go around these roles all the time. Most people live in the drama triangle. How healthy is that? And when you step out of the drama triangle, just know that people will cast you as the bad guy. but it's about taking care of your energy as well. You know, your energy field. It's about the stories you're telling yourself. What are you saying to yourself in your head? What are the beliefs going round in your head? When you get an impulse to create something, do you go, wow, oh, that would be fun? Or do you go to that place that says, you don't know how to do that. You couldn't do that. Who are you to do that? And where does that even come from? You know, what are these patterns? Just noticing those. I'm inviting you to have conscious awareness of your thoughts and the things going round and round, and see if patterns emerge. And then ask yourself, who do I know who's like that? Who else do I know who thinks this way? You know, maybe it was your grandmother. And did her grandmother think the same way? Where's this come from? And I invite you to ask yourself, is this something that I even believe is true? Is this true for me? Do I want to carry this? Do I want to keep doing this? And this will take conscious, focused attention to become aware of this, because so much of this goes on unconsciously. And it's also about all those tiny decisions that you make every day, unconsciously, automatically. Oh, I just do that so that person goes away. Or I'll just do that. You know, I don't want to, but that'll be easy. I'll go ahead and do that. All day, every day. It's separating you from yourself. It's you know, compromising. How often do you compromise yourself and your integrity? Are you the type of person who say yes? Like a lot of sensitives like me, I have this whole people-pleasing thing, right? Say in a work scenario, are you the one that always says, yes, I'll do overtime? No matter what, you just, yes, I want to help out. I want to be a good employee. Even if it doesn't serve you, even if you need time off, even if, you know, you need a rest, or that's a day that you promised to go somewhere with your spouse or your kids. I invite you to just become aware. You don't need to fix anything. Just become aware. See if patterns emerge. See what's going on. And then see how, as Claire Dubois will say, how uncomfortable does it have to be, right? Before you start changing it, before you decide, I don't want to live like this. You know, this really isn't taking care of myself. Giving, people pleasing. And one suggestion I can make, this is what I did. I was one of those people that would just say yes. Oh, yes, right? So what I started doing, even if I knew someone would ask me to do something, and even if I knew that the answer was yes, or even if I knew the answer was no, it didn't matter. I started out by saying, oh, thank you for that. I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that. How about after lunch? Or I'll need to get back to you on that. How about tomorrow? You know, you don't leave people hanging. And it was really interesting to see their faces. Like, you're the one who always says yes. And now you're saying, I'll get back to you on that. Just smile. And then I would kind of sit with it, right? Is this right for me? And sometimes I would go ahead and say yes. Sometimes I would go ahead and say no. But it was like a good practice for me on the small things, so that when it really did matter, right, I was used to saying, I'll get back to you. That would give me a bit of breathing space. And I was used to saying no and yes. Other people won't like it. So if you get that, you've changed. Boy, you've changed. What's going on with you? What they're really saying is, I I can't manipulate you the way I used to. What's going on? I feel uncomfortable, right? But you're taking care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you're bringing your best self to whatever service you are doing in the world. Your full, complete self, right? You're loving and honoring yourself. You're not only modeling that for other people, giving them sort of permission, if you like, to love and honor themselves. Have you ever known anyone who had really good boundaries and could say no, but people still, liked them? And you think, oh, how do they do that? Well, they've taught other people how to treat them, right? So you keep your boundaries, have a look at your habitual thought patterns, the stories you're telling yourself, the things that are going around and around, and you work with those. You see the patterns. Awareness is key. Like, it is key, and it's almost halfway there once you become aware. And there are people like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza. There's all sorts of meditations and processes, things you can do to help assist you in resolving these patterns or changing these patterns. But yeah, so self-care is really the key. It's the foundation to everything. And in permaculture, this is people care, right? So permaculture has 3 ethics: earth care, people care, and care of the future. And people care gets overlooked. This is you care, right? Many people who love the earth, the environment, are not really taking care of themselves. And Polly Higgins, the lawyer who was working to have ecocide written into international law, she called this internal ecocide, which I think is a brilliant way of describing it. People who would never dream of harming the environment, but yet, what internal ecocides are you committing against yourself? Is it any wonder that we are in the position we're in with the earth? If we can commit internal ecocides on ourselves, is it any wonder that that's what's being played out in the outer world? As within, so without. So this self-care is fundamental, and it's a great place to begin. And I could go on for a lot longer about this, but I just invite you to consider this, consider what I've said, and just become aware. Just become aware. Focus your attention. See how it goes. And yes, optimize your sleep, your nutrition, all of those things. Fresh air, time in nature, exercise, healthy relationships, and healthy self-talk. So that's number 1. And related to that really is number 2, which is feel your feelings. If you're an empath, you're like, oh, that's all I do is feel feelings. But are they your feelings? Right? Are you so busy feeling everyone else's feelings that you've numbed out? Many people are numbed out. I mean, how many of us were taught to feel our feelings and process them? I don't know about you, but I wasn't. I remember being told as a child, when a member of my family died, I was told not to cry. We're taught to stuff down feelings. But our feelings are who we are. That's how we know who we are. And that's how we know what works for us and what doesn't work for us. Right? Feelings are emotions. They're energy in motion. They are flowing through us, and they're all welcome. All of them. They're all human emotions. If you tell me that you don't get angry, I'm not going to believe you because it's a normal emotion. And righteous anger in the moment may be the exact appropriate emotion, right? Someone may have just stepped all over your boundary, and that's important information and feedback to know about, right? When you feel your feelings, you're connected to yourself. When you're numbed out, you're disconnected. So again, is it any wonder that there are numbed out people disconnected from themselves, totally disconnected from nature, committing internal ecocides and external ecocides? It doesn't surprise me, right, that this is playing out in the wider world. So feelings are important, and it takes so much energy, right, to suppress your emotions. Have you ever felt like crying and thought, well, it's inappropriate, I have to not cry? How much energy did that take to like suppress that? Claire Dubois calls that like damming your river. Just, it takes so much energy to stuff them down. And when they get stuck, they're still in motion, they're still vibrating. If you're stuffing down anger and resentments, that's still vibrating inside. And guess what? That attracts more things to be angry about, right? So it takes 90 seconds on average, just roughly 90 seconds to process an emotion when you're feeling it fully. Now, I know it doesn't feel that way. Sometimes it feels like, you know, it's so intense that you're not going to survive. But you will, I promise. I promise. If you get into the habit of feeling and processing your emotions, it will take 90 seconds for them to flow through. Then you can use your energy to deal with the situation, right? Instead of using that energy to hold it all in. So I have actually a tip. I have a little exercise that I'd like to share. It's called the anger offloading exercise. Now, I learned this from autogenic training, which I did years ago. And the key to this is to remove yourself to a safe space where no one can hear you, right? You don't want people running in asking if you're okay, right? You don't want your spouse or your children in the next room to hear what you're going to do with this exercise, right? So find a safe space. You can use like talking to a pillow, but you really don't want to be inhibited in any way. So I like to go outside. I feel the trees are holding the space for me. And yeah, so that's what I like to do where there's no one around. And what you're going to do is verbalize your anger. You know, you're not directing it at anyone. The focus is on your own system, right? And getting this anger to move through you and feeling it. And I invite you to use the worst language that you can possibly think of. Really, that's part of the exercise. Just let it out, right? And honestly, you'll run out of things to say. You think that you'll be there for a long, long time. I know I did. Oh, this is going to take forever. But it really doesn't. And it's so satisfying to get it out. But, you know, you don't want anyone to overhear you. You're not directing you're not like flinging it at someone. The focus is on processing it through your energy. And if you're worried about this icky energy being out there, you can always surround it with light, send it into the light, or ask Mother Earth to transmute this anger. But it's really such an effective exercise. So I wanted to share that with you. And the last one is fun. The first two were a bit heavy, but the third powerful way to deepen into your path of personal and planetary healing is start a garden. Now, even if you don't have a garden, you can get a pot. I've got a plant here, right? I've got a little pot. It's mint. It's very easy to grow. I invite you to plant a seed, really. I think this is, it's very symbolic of life, you know, planting a seed and waiting with that anticipation, you know. You can use almost anything as a container. You can obtain a seed, you know, from ask a friend or a neighbor, maybe get a cutting, like mint grows very easily from cuttings. You know, don't make it hard, make it fun and easy. You can collect something from the wild, you know, responsibly with permission. Maybe a little cutting of ivy or something that grows easily. You know, ask is when you're eating something like tomatoes, that's a big one for me. Like chopping tomatoes and all these seeds come out. I always thought it was such a waste. So I have a special little cutting board that's just full of tomato seeds, and I just plant them and see what happens, right? But when you plant a seed, you know, you have that childlike wonder and awe and amazement when it sprouts, and you're nurturing this little seedling, and it really does something to you. Honestly, it like rewilds you. It gets you back into relationship, especially if it's an edible plant, you know, because if you've grown that from seeds, you've seen what the plant has gone through. And then when you're harvesting its fruit or, you know, its leaves, you know how much has gone into that. And I think when we go to the supermarket and buy things that are wrapped in plastic, it's just, you know, we're not connected to those cycles of the earth and nature, and you know, we're not in relationship with our food the way we used to be. So plant a garden. If you do have a garden, well, then you can go, you know, and have loads of fun and plant a food forest or whatever makes you happy. And if you really, really can't find a container and plant a seed or anything like that, you could adopt a weed. Somewhere, you know, say you walk by and you notice a weed's growing in between the pavement stones. Just visit it every day. See how it develops. See what critters visit, right? See what the flower smells like and looks like. Watch it go through its cycle. Wait for the flower to turn into seed. I always let my herbs, I'm in the UK, so we pronounce the H. I always let them flower because that's what the bees want. So you see the bees coming to visit your plant. You know, you see other critters coming. And then the plant produces seeds. You know, these are a gift. It's a total miracle, right? And you're in relationship. You know, your out breath is the plant's in breath. And you really come to care for it. And it's just, I think it's a rewilding experience. And it's so much fun that you want to plant more and more and more and more. I know I had a wonderful experience where I started a balcony garden where I was working. It was a huge balcony and it was completely barren. And I went through a whole lot of stuff. I got grant money. I bought the pots, I bought the soil, I bought the seeds. I put it out there and I would go every morning and check, twice a day at least. Did they need water? Were they okay? And then when they started to sprout, I mean, at first I was out there by myself, right? And then things sprouted and they began to grow. And people got more interested, and it actually grew into this big thing. And it's still going now, and it's spread to other sites. They've done fundraising, they've got more plants. It just ignites something inside. And I think it's very healing, right? I think it is, because you're more connected to Earth, to the cycles, the seasons. You know, you're outside, you're touching the soil, which is good for your mental health. So I invite you all to plant a garden, adopt a weed, you know, plant a seed, get a cutting from someone, and see what happens. And don't give up, right? I had a plant on my balcony that really shouldn't have been outside. I put it outside in the spring to get some nice sunshine and some air, fresh air, and I left town. And then a freak winter storm came through. I think it was April, late April or something. Normally never snow, but there was sub-zero temperatures of snow and ice, and killed almost everything out there. And I felt so bad about this plant. So I thought, oh, you know, I was apologizing to the plant, and I thought, well, okay, I better clean this up. And the leaves, I was pulling the leaves off because it was big, right? And I thought, well, I need to clean this up. And I just had this thought to just leave the leaves at the bottom of the pot. And it had really thick stems. My little cutters, though it wouldn't go through the stems. So I just ended up leaving it. I left town again. And this was in the corner of a sheltered balcony, right in the corner. So it didn't get any rain. I didn't water it. I came back. It came back after like months, 3 months. It regenerated itself and is all now big and green again. And I was completely amazed. And I had some seeds on that balcony garden that I told you about, that, you know, on the packet it'll say it'll germinate in so many days or whatever. Don't worry about any of that because this took weeks longer than was on the package. But they still came up. You know, I still had faith, and I had that excitement every day checking on them, right? It's so much fun. And then other people got interested, and then insects came, and then birds will come because insects are there, and you've got a whole ecosystem going, right? And you're a big part of that. And it's just loads and loads of fun. I think so. So I'd love to invite you to plant a seed, you know, root a cutting, get a little cutting of something and then put it in some water. And when some roots appear, you can put that in some soil and see what happens. I'd love for your feedback to see how you get on with that. So those are my 3 powerful ways to deepen into your path of personal and planetary healing. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for being here. Oh, and just a little word about my free gift. I'm going to draw 4 names to have a coaching session with me. So click on the link below the video, and there are a few questions to answer. And don't worry, there's no right or wrong. Just if you're chosen, it helps me have an idea of the kind of thing that you would like to, you know, what you would like to get out of our session. So I'm going to be picking 4 winners. I'll wait for the entire conference to finish, maybe a few days, so everyone can get their applications in. So if you're interested in having a free session with me, I urge you to fill in the questionnaires, just a few questions. So yeah, that's all from me for now. Enjoy the rest of the day. We have 3 speakers. We'll have 3 speakers every day for the rest of the conference. Today's the only day where there's 4 talks. And they're all available for free for 48 hours to watch. So I wanted to make it manageable for everyone so that you could have plenty of time to watch and absorb all the wonderful, beautiful information that's being shared. So enjoy the conference, and I'll see you in there. Bye for now, everyone.